Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so glad to release my first ever video on community medicine. Let's start this series from epidemiology. This video is about an introduction to epidemiology. Trust me, this series is gonna be lit and I'll be clearing all the tough concepts in PSM. So why don't we start off things right now? Welcome to MedBits Made Simple. Please do me and yourself a favor by pressing the subscribe button and the bell icon next to it so that you can keep watching all my medical videos for free. By the end of this video, you should be able to answer about the definition of epidemiology, its components, aims of epidemiology, uses of epidemiology, measurements in epidemiology, and tools used in the measurement in epidemiology. All these are potential questions in your theory exam as well as in Viva as well as in entrance exams. So uh, let us break down the definition of epidemiology to make it easy for everyone. So epidemiology is the study of distribution and determinants. Of what? Of health related states or events like deaths, births, etc., or distribution of diseases in a population, etc. Okay, so in whom? In specified populations. For example, we consider target population and we carry out study in them. Okay, so what are we doing here? We are carrying out study of distribution and determinants of health related states or events like distribution of diseases, a specific disease in a specific population, target population. And with the help of this study, what we do is that we try to control the health problems which we found out from the study results. Okay, so in that particular population by various strategies like formulating health programs. So putting all these things together, definition of epidemiology is so freaking simple. It is the study of distribution and determinants of health related states or events in specified populations and the application of this study to the control of health problems. It's important to know the person who formulated this definition for epidemiology is Mr. John M. Last. Okay, so it's important to remember his name. The three main components of epidemiology are the first component. Epidemiology deals with study of disease frequency. So frequency is usually expressed in rates and ratios. That's what most of the epidemiology is all about. So the rates and ratios are used to identify disease frequency in a population, and this data which we calculate, okay, the frequency of the disease in that population, this data can be compared with the other states, the neighboring states or other states or countries, and based on this data the health programs can be made and the diseases can be controlled and the health of the population, target population, can be improved. Okay, so that's the importance of studying disease frequency. So you must remember that disease frequency is usually expressed in rates and ratios. That's the most important point here. Other things you can just recollect by watching this video again. So the second most important component of epidemiology is the study of distribution of disease. So it's important to know that the diseases are usually distributed in specific patterns in a population. Specific groups of people in a population are usually involved with some diseases, maybe because they have specific risk factors and all that. Okay, so it's important to remember that the diseases are usually distributed in specific patterns in a population, and this pattern of distribution might give us a clue on what the possible cause or risk factor can be. Okay, so with the help of this clue, what we do is that we will generate hypothesis. As what the possible cause of this condition in these people will be. This type of epidemiology where we generate hypothesis or formulate hypothesis is called as descriptive epidemiology. So so far we have seen two important components of epidemiology, that is disease frequency deals with distribution of disease, and the most important component of epidemiology is about determinants of disease. This is one of the most important components of epidemiology. So this component, the determinants of disease, deals with identifying the causes or risk factors of the disease. Now what we are doing here is that when we studied about the distribution of disease, we made a hypothesis about the possible risk factors or causes for the condition in that population. Now what do we do in identifying the determinants of disease is that we identify the exact cause or risk factor. here we are not dealing with hypothesis anymore. Here we are confirming the hypothesis by carrying out more specific studies, and here we are identifying the exact cause for the disease in that population, and we sort it out. Okay, so that is about the determinants of disease. So this type of epidemiology where we confirm the hypothesis and identify the uh, exact cause or risk factor is called as analytical epidemiology. Now let's talk about the aims of epidemiology. There are three main aims of epidemiology. The first aim is to describe the distribution and magnitude of health and disease problems in human populations. So by carrying out studies in the population, what we do is that we'll identify the distribution and the magnitude of health and disease problems in human population. By doing that, we'll be able to get an idea of the important diseases in that particular community, and the people, the groups of people who are affected by that disease. So it will give us an idea about the health of that particular population. The second most important aim of epidemiology is to identify etiological factors in the pathogenesis of disease. By identifying the etiological factors, we'll be able to prevent or reduce the etiological factors in that community. By doing so, we'll be able to control the disease uh, caused by those etiological factors in that community. The third most important aim of epidemiology is to provide the data. Okay, so we did studies, right? We did studies in that population, and we have got some data. So we provide this data, which is essential to the planning, implementation, and evaluation of services, basically health services, for the prevention, control, and treatment of disease, and to the setting up of priorities among those services. So the uses of epidemiology. There are 7 uses of epidemiology which has been described by Morris, and we'll see the uses of epidemiology. The first use is to study historically the rise and fall of disease in the population. It also helps in community diagnosis. When we carry out studies in community about the distribution of diseases and the people who are affected, we'll be able to identify multiple cases in the community, and we'll be able to identify the etiological factor more easily. And planning and evaluation is also possible with the help of epidemiology. We'll be able to create specific health plans for a particular community based on the problems which are present in that community. And evaluation of individuals' risks and chances is done with the help of epidemiology. So, for example, with the help of epidemiology, people were able to identify that smoking is a particular risk factor, a specific risk factor for lung cancer. Syndrome identification. Epidemiological studies actually been found to be helpful in redefining the syndrome, and it also helps in completing the natural history of disease. So with the help of studies in community, what we can do is that we'll be able to get a better idea about the agent, host, and environmental factors which are responsible for causing the disease. The last use of epidemiology, which is mentioned by Morris, is searching for causes and risk factors. With the help of epidemiological studies, we'll be able to identify causes and risk factors of various diseases. The various measurements which are done in epidemiology are the mortality, morbidity, disability, natality, medical needs, healthcare facilities, utilization of health services, measurement of demographic variables. So these are some of the things which are being measured with the help of epidemiological studies. So the basic tools which are used in the measurement in epidemiology are rates, ratios, and proportions. So about rates, the rates actually measures the occurrence of some event in a population in a given time period. The numerator in rates is actually a component of denominator. So this is one differentiating point from ratios. So example for rates are death rate. So for example, in death rate, what we do is that we calculate the number of deaths occurring in a population in a given period of time. So that is what is actually rates. So it measures the occurrence of some event in a population, for example death or birth, in a given time period. Okay, so that is about rates. So these are some of the important things about rates. About ratios, ratios actually expresses a relation in size between two random quantities. Numerator is not a component of denominator in case of ratios, whereas in rates we saw the numerator is a component of denominator. Now what this tells us is that the numerator and denominator are entirely different things. So for example, sex ratio, we compare male is to female ratio, and these two are entirely different quantities. So we are comparing, we are making a ratio out of two different quantities. So the numerator and denominator are obviously different. It's actually easy to remember. So the third important tool in epidemiology is proportion. Proportion is actually a ratio, but the difference here is that this is a ratio, but the numerator is a part of denominator. So for example, 40 out of 100 people in a class are absent, we'll be saying 40% of the people are absent. So that's the uh, proportion of the people who are absent in that class. So it is a magnitude of a part of the whole. So 100 people in that class is the whole population, and the proportion of the people who are absent, that is the 40 people, is a part of the whole. It is expressed in percentage like I mentioned. So this video is basically a level 1 video explaining the basic concepts. So you have to watch this video multiple times to get it deep inside your brain, and you have to revise these topics from Park's textbook of preventive and social medicine. This you can help me to make more videos by donating on Patreon by clicking on the link in the description, also on the link which you can see on the screen right now. And make sure to like, share, and subscribe uh, to my channel for more PSM videos and other videos. And comment below to let me know what videos you want me to make. And yeah, don't forget to check out our merch. The link is in the description. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video.